Hey everyone, welcome to Unveiling the Truth 333. I really appreciate you being here and all those that will pop on later. We're going to have a good show for you tonight. I have a really good friend of mine with me, and this is Michael, and he kind of looks like this picture. So all the girls will start swooning here in a minute. Michael and I met, I believe it was about 3 years ago. Maybe we're going almost on 4. And we found out that we were like twin souls. We were like brother and sister. And I have, since I've known Michael, I just have felt that he's the family I should have always had in my life. And I really appreciate everything that he has done for me. And he, as we were getting to know each other online, I decided I wanted to write a book. Actually, I had written a book prior, a very simple book, but I wanted to write something really in depth. And so I appreciated him stepping up to the plate and saying that he would help me write this book. So we wrote this book called The Benevolent. And we're going to talk about this book, and I have all my chapters marked, and it's over 400 pages. And this book is all channeling from me. And not only channeling, I'm a person that I really like visual, and I really wanted to show you what I was seeing. And I'm an artist, but I'm, not the most spectacular artist, but I kind of did the best I could. And we're going to talk a little bit about the construction and how fast this was coming together. But I really wanted to show you what I was talking about, because on my other channel, Robin High at the Blue Star, I channel and I try to verbally tell you what I'm seeing. But in this book, I wanted pictures. And so Michael, his strengths was editing it and constructing it. And he's the person that's never done this before, being the little engineer mind he has. And we were able to, in a year, I think it was a year, Michael, about a year.
Yep.
And it was about 1 year it took us to put this together. And we worked night and day. I swear, every night after work, I channeled and I drew a picture. We have, let me see, I'm going to also put a presentation up here, and Michael and I are going to go over this. Hi, Michael. I'll say hi to
Hello.
you.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, Robin's correct. Yeah. So Robin and I met, I think it's about actually 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I've always been intrigued with extraterrestrials and space, and I'm an engineer in my midlife stream, I guess you would say. And after I met Robin, I actually had her do a channeling session for me. I wanted to know about myself and if I had any connections outside this planet. And she did a channeling session for me. And that channeling session, who came through, spoke to me and her. And then that evolved into something more, which we found out more about ourselves, and that we actually knew each other before we came down here.
Yes.
Actually, it's kind of like not a twin flame, but it's a twin soul, where you're kind of like a brother and sister, I guess you would say. So there's a difference between twin souls and twin flames. Yeah. And then from there, I had her do a couple more channeling sessions, which evolved into a deep friendship. And at that time, she started channeling a lot of extraterrestrials, benevolent extraterrestrials, that I was very intrigued with. And we got together and we decided to write this book. And this book is, I think it's 60. The first book, well, we're going to talk about 2 books. So the first book is The Benevolent, and we had 64 personages come through. The second book was The Power of the Benevolent, and we'll talk about that too. We'll show you some pictures. And that book was 35
it was less,
benevolent personages that came through. So like what Robin said is that every day she came home and I came home from my job. I'm an engineer, and we worked on it. So what she would do is, and we'll show you kind of in the presentation once she loads it. But what she would do is she would lay down and use a recorder, and she would channel the message, whoever would come through. And then after she channeled the message, she would send it to me, and I would go ahead and convert it to Word, structure it. And then while I was doing that, she would go back in and meet with the species, and basically kind of stand before them and actually draw them like automatic drawing. And it was quite amazing to see. You'll see with the pictures, we got the original pictures, but she used a sketch pad with black graphite pencil and was
Yeah.
able to sketch them perfectly. And all of them she did within less than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So after she
Yeah.
channeled, while I was structuring the book, she would send me a picture within an hour of the actual species, like an actual portrait, which blew me away. And then we
Yeah.
decided to take it one step further and see if Robin can meet with them and write in their language, so that we can show you guys what their language would look like if they were to write a message or to write their name or
Mm-hmm.
something of that nature, so that not only would you get an idea of the person that Robin was channeling, but also the person, what they look like, and then what their actual writing looks like. If you're familiar with the hieroglyphics in Egypt or different rock art and cuneiform and whatnot that you see in different ancient writings, you'll be intrigued with this book. And we got a lot of the writings that we took from the book we put in this presentation, not all, but some. And
Yeah.
we'll go through that as we progress.
And it was interesting too, because I actually didn't even think about writings, but I was doing paintings at the time of before writing this book, and in all my paintings, I started putting a like alien script in the sky. A couple of people that have bought the paintings, they might not know what they have, but I actually have alien script written in the paintings that just came out. And so when Michael, and just to let you guys know, this was quite the feat. This was a lot of work because we both had, I'm in the medical field, he's an engineer, and we worked, I think I worked until like 10 or 11 at night. I would come home, eat, and just start going and channeling. And then even I had an office at the time. I think even during the day, I'd kind of like start jotting stuff down. And so um, it was awesome. And it kind of was, I don't know if you would agree with me, Michael, but it kind of was miraculous that we could get so much done in such a short amount of time. And then when I did the drawings, they were almost like channeled also. I would just go, it was almost like I was in a trance and I was just moving at Mach speed on that. The writing came after I channeled and drew. And then I went back in for each species, and I either wanted them to do their signature for me, or to do to write something for us, like a positive affirmation, even though we can't read it. But what was interesting about this writing is I wanted a fountain pen. So I had to buy a fountain pen, special paper, and black ink. And so I don't do calligraphy. And I don't think I've written in a fountain pen ever. But I heard that I had to use a fountain pen because I needed the thickness and the depth of color, so it showed on the pages, I guess. And it was very interesting because most of the script is written backwards, not going, how we write this way. It was written backwards. I was writing backwards. And for a lot of them, I wrote backwards. And I would just kind of go into a trance and then just go with it. And actually, that made me more tired than anything, because it was really difficult to channel someone's handwriting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what was really interesting was, like, for example, the like Pleiadians, you drew three different Pleiadians.
Yeah.
which we'll show you one of them. But also you did their signatures, and their signatures are similar. I mean, they're not the same because they had different names, but you can almost
And I
kind of
think
decipher how the words and stuff would be kind of
I think
similar,
those were
like the
the ones
style,
I wrote backwards too. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the meat of the Benevolent, because this is just a really exciting book. And the people that have read it, when you go into Amazon.com, only read the the reviews that people actually bought the book. I had trolls, and so if there's a 1 or 2 star, you'll see that out of all the beautiful 5 stars that I got on this book, you will see there's a couple that just don't match, and so just bypass them. It's not. Just believe the people that actually purchased the book were verified purchasers, and I was so proud of this book that I held it and slept with it. It was like my baby. So this is the Benevolent. Channel messages from 64 enlightened beings. Automatic writing, just like everything we went through. And you're going to realize that all these species that I channeled are for you. They're for your own growth. And I think it's actually Mel Gibson put a thought in my head that he goes, what is it about this planet and us as people that we have like angels and guides? Why do they care about us little humans? Why did Jesus come down and have this whole event just for us fallible humans? What is it about us humans that all these people, species, angels, archangels, why do they want to love us and hold us and have us be successful? And I thought, that is such a huge question that you almost can't answer it. It kind of blows your mind that we are just these little fallible humans, like you said, but these benevolent beings love us so much that they want to help us. And that's what this channeled book is for, is to enlighten you how each species, who they are, what they are, how they're involved in us and this planet, and a little bit about where they live and what they do. And so this book is kind of bigger than ourselves. And you will feel so loved and held after you read this book. Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah. And I just hopefully that you will get the sense of your worth and just how much you're loved. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. So,
Okay,
Michael, go ahead, Michael. This is
yeah.
you.
So I put together this presentation, and for me, as a engineer or somebody that does buy books, I'm always interested, or actually someone that's actually in extraterrestrials, I'm always interested into what extraterrestrials are discussed. And for those, I don't think on Amazon we state all the different species, but for those who watch this and are intrigued or interested in buying the book, you can pause it here and you can actually look and see all the species that we brought forth. So this is a table of contents, what you would see in the book and what you would expect to see. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about a few of them that you guys should be familiar with, that are from our history, and just from the extraterrestrial community, with people that are aware of certain species that we'll discuss. But for those who are interested in the book or interested in purchasing it down the road, or the species, these are the species that Robin brought forth, channeled, and drew pictures of, and wrote in their languages. Not all, but most. So,
And let me talk about, well, just like, let me talk about the
Yeah.
cover too. because a lot of people may not go, why do you have a lion on? So this is someone, when I channeled this species, it's a Lyran, Master Mefeko. And we hired a guy to do this. And I had a certain cloth I wanted him to wear because it's a ceremonial cloth and it's kind of an African cloth. And also he had long hair and I wanted that. And actually, Michael, at the end of this podcast, you'll see Michael has done a little excerpt of this where the hair's being blown back. And I went, oh, I like that so much better. And then he made his face a little bit white. And I kept that because Master Mefeko is ancient and he's very ancient. And so he's not, he wasn't a young Lyran. And I feel through channeling Master Mefeko and learning his history and learning possibly my involvement with him as a soul, that we have a connection. And I want to say something to you on this. I think I've mentioned this once, that I was during this, Michael, I think this is during us working on this book, and I opened my back door, and I'm kind of, my back area is raised up a little bit. So you take a couple steps to walk down, and then I have a driveway. And I looked up. I don't even know why I opened my back door. It was nighttime. And I see a ship right close. Like there's a duplex over this way, and there's a ship right above it. It was like the back of a ship, and it had round propellers, and it was just slowly moving. And then I went, oh my gosh. And of course, I didn't want to run inside and get my phone because then I thought it'll be gone by the time. So I just watched it move away. And then it just moved away, and then it just vanished. And I think it was when we were working on Master Mefeko. I really felt it was the Lyran race was kind of saying hi. And I make a joke of it all the time. I said, I think I was just ship butt. It was the butt of the ship. And I thought that was the most awesome experience. And a lot of times these things happen and you just don't have a way you can prove it. I just didn't have my phone with me, and I didn't want to go get it because I didn't want to miss the opportunity of watching this. So I just wanted to explain that I feel Michael also has a huge connection to the Lyran race, to this Master Mefeko. And also the building is kind of like his temple. It's his quadrant, and we'll probably talk about Master Mefeko a little bit, so I won't go too much into it. But that's who's on the cover. Okay, next one.
All right, so in this slide, this is what we were talking about before. So we included, so these are actual sketches that Robin did, and then some actual handwriting. So if you get an idea what I was talking about with the detail of the drawings and how Robin, she did each of these drawings in almost like 30 minutes for each drawing, almost, I think it was. Because
30 minutes. Then I did some shading. I'd spend about a half hour shading it.
Right. So we'll talk. I think so. Right here on the top left, we're going to discuss him. That's the commander of the Palladians. His name's Zephyr. Yep, Zephyr. And the bottom left is the leader of the Elfin race, and his name is John. They don't have names, but he said that I really want to talk more about him. But he's one of my favorite drawings. But they're actually reside in close to the Elohim and the Melchizedek, and he said that at a young age they have the opportunity to name themselves, or they can choose a name. So he chose the name John. John's a strength name, he said. It's not only on our name throughout the cosmos. It's a strong name, and that's what he chose for himself. So his name is John. And then to the right is the king of the Lemurians. His name is Condor, and that his mate Condor and his mate Venus.
Venus 9, yep. And she's an Atlantean. And I'm going to do a little reading on Condor and Venus 9. So let me just read a little excerpt so you get a little feeling about this book. So this is on the chapter of the couple that's down below there. As Lemurians and Atlanteans, we know a little about struggle and war, but our wars were temporary and they were fading. The Atlanteans were lured into promise of greatness and almost a lie that they would be higher than the gods. Sorry, I have no light here. Hold on. Okay, let's see. The Atlanteans were lured into a promise of greatness and almost a lie that they would be higher than the god who we loved and worshipped. There were a collective of Atlanteans who were supposed to be wise ones. They fell into corruption of flesh and were lured into making choices for the whole community. They were beguiled. They had scientists who designed many things, and something was given to them which they thought was from the gods, but it was not. It was from the Draco, who pretended to be a god to these people. I chose my wife, Condor says, Venus, who I met, and I came down among her people to teach them from the Lemurian star system during Atlantis. I was not walking on Earth at the time. We would come down and teach like prophets to help the Atlanteans correct their ways because they were becoming misguided. They were creating lethal things that could destroy them, and we needed to correct that while still giving them free agency. If the Draco could come down, then so could we. As you see, the Atlanteans had both the good and the bad come down to teach them, and they had the choice to decide whom to follow. And then it kind of goes into a little bit more on that. Sorry, I have to put a light on. It's really dark back here. But
yeah, and basically when, just to sum that up, so basically when the destruction was about to occur, Condor and the Lemurians came down in ships to take away those people that followed them, and Venus 9 was his mate. She was on board that ship, so they left and they went up when the destruction occurred.
And you think about this and biblical of how much destruction has happened through the segments of time, and kind of what we're actually experiencing a little bit now is that something's happening because the evil has gotten so strong that something has to happen to bring in the light, to bring in the good, to cancel out the darkness. And be it God, be it like the Lemurians coming down to teach. And you're right, Michael, because they did come to teach. And then those that accepted the teachings, they took on ships and took off planet. And then the destruction came to Atlantis. Anything else and then if you look up to the top right, you will see my calligraphy pen and just kind of practicing some signatures there. Anything else you want to share, Michael, before we go on?
No, next slide. Next.
Okay.
So this is the next slide I was talking about earlier. This is Robin wanted me to include the Boogosphere. You can see the Boogosphere. There's some kind of a foreign writing on it that we don't know of or we're not aware of. But what I did is I went throughout the book, because I have the actual Word document before we created the book, and I took a lot of the signatures of all the different species, not all of them, but there's a good handful of all these. Each one of these, what you see here is the signatures of different species in the book. I think it's about maybe a little under half of the species that gave signatures I included there, just so you guys can all get an idea. of the different types of writings by each species. Some of them are kind of similar because they're two of the same species, but to different personages. But you'll see as we go along the pictures of the species that some of the pictures of the species that Robin drew, and then I went ahead and included their signature with the species too, so you can get an idea when you can put a signature to a face.
And on the reason I wanted the Buddhist sphere on here is because some of my writings are very similar that's on that. And so it kind of validated to me that what I've been writing is an ancient language that, and the Buddhist sphere, have they ever decided what it is, Michael?
Not too sure. That was pretty popular for a while. It kind of faded
I
away, but
think,
I don't know if they were able to ever decipher it, and if they even have the actual real one, or if it was taken and a replacement was brought
yeah.
forth, or a mirrored image. Usually those are confiscated, or someone would take those away, but I'm not sure the history of it or any information to speak of it.
Yeah, there's two of them. I think you showed me another one that did not have the writing on it. It was a little bit simpler. It wasn't as ornate as this. But it had that center component, like a chip kind of thing. Be very interesting if we had any crop circles turn up like this.
All right, so here for the first slide, we chose the I guess in history there's the Hopi prophecies, which people are aware of, and the and petroglyphs and the ant people. That's actually, from what we understand, from what Robin channeled and the personages that came forward. And if you follow Robin on in her Patreon, um, all three of these species that you see right here, the three personages, are in her Patreon that she channeled, so you can listen to their actual channeling message. So when they do come through and Robin does channel them, they basically, what happens is, I guess Robin can kind of explain it more. Um, they merge with Robin, not in her body, but next to her, and they use her data bank, and then they speak, and then Robin speaks, and they speak through Robin. So the ant species, which are it's FEDOCC, how you see in the screen. I don't know how to really
Uh,
pronounce it, but
but also, but I think you have
Fadasa
an extra.
Lesse or something.
Yeah, you have an
Uh,
extra L in there. I think there's just one
okay.
L. Yeah, and
So
it's
the
Fadasa and Fadas are the
right.
two.
So the top left person is the queen of the
Yeah,
species, and her name is Fadasa, and that's somebody that
yeah,
Robin and I like a lot.
yeah,
And below her is her consort, her
yes,
main consort, and his name is Fadas.
yeah.
And uh, go ahead, Robin.
Oh, and their species, it's very interesting because their species, and as you know, in the Hopi, the ant people and the Hopi legends, that my understanding from channeling is that the ant people have saved a species over and over and over. And it's this tribe, it's a Hopi tribe. And my understanding is that the ant people are burrowers. They're just like ants. And so they can go to there are planets that become dead planets out there, or planets that are slave trade planets that they eradicate. And that's for another time. But the ant people go in and they make that planet alive again. They burrow and bring in the vegetation and make a dead planet alive. And so during the catastrophic times, like biblical times, like of the floods, et cetera, that they saved a certain people each time these catastrophic events happened, like when the dinosaurs were blown off with either a comet or whatever happened, that they brought these people, the Hopi people, underground, and they taught them how to live underground until it was safe to come back out. And then they helped replenish the planet with the Hopi people and have them survive. And so the chapter that I've written on Fadasa, she just says that there are millions of us in planetary zones, and pretty much this is their calling, is to now help planet Earth. And she also said in this chapter that she wanted us to know that we all derive from pretty much this nation, the Hopi nation, because they were the people that kept being saved underground, and then they would surface when it was safe to come up and start the world again. And I don't know if in other lands if this also was happening, but in the Americas, do believe that this was happening. She stated that the Hopi people are important to your atmosphere and to Mother Gaia, for they began the earth again after catastrophes. We saved one tribe of people. If you understand that, you people on this planet everywhere originated from them. So she has a really good message for us. And anything you want to say, Michael, on that?
Yeah, so the reason why I put those two together is because of that story, because everyone's familiar with it, but also the blue star Kachina. And you see that little, so they always talk about the blue star prophecy. And I believe that when the Hopi were speaking about the blue star and the return of the blue star, is they were speaking about the actual blue star ship, which is the ship that both Fadasa and the Crow Chief, which is the person right next to her, he is the chief of the Hopi species that are actually a species in the star system, in a certain star system. So they both these two reside on the Blue Star Council of 12, which is over the Federation. So there's 12 people that reside on the Blue Star Council of 12, and Fadasa and the Crow Chief are one of them. So when they talk about the blue star in the sky, they're basically, I think what they're referencing, which is my understanding, is they're referencing at one time there was this blue star ship arrived and that the Hopi were aware of it. And at that time, there was assistance, and then there was supposed to be a return of this blue star, which you can read about that in the book. But the lower right corner is basically it's a pyramid kind of ship that Robin drew. She kind of sketched it. You can see the little orbs around it and whatnot. And we talk about that in the book. And basically, it's a large ship. It's about the size of a country, and it's our understanding. I asked how many species were on this that served on the Blue Star, and there was 230. I think Dental said there was 236 different species that serve on this ship. And basically, it's yeah. So basically, they get a lot of intel, and they're basically, and I think what in Ra, I think what's that book with Ra? He talks about the Council of Planets, and I think when he's talking about the Council of Planets, he's referring to the Blue Star Council of 12. So if you guys want to make that connection, I think that's what he was referencing. So the Fadasa, like Robin said, that's correct. She's been part of the Blue Star Council of 12 since its beginning, and what they do is they go down when the Galactic Federation went over planets that were sub-destroyed, or they were slave trade planet, and they clean them out, and they basically they're in charge of going down, burrowing, creating the veins underneath the planet for water to circulate in the different caverns, and to bring life to the planet and get it prepared for the ancients to come down and seed. And then once everything's done, they bring down a species and they bring down life, and that species and life stay on the planet, and the planet thrives.
Yeah. Very good.
Yep. And then real quick, if you want to talk about the Crow Chief, the Crow Chief is kind of an important figure to me. They basically they speak that they were the first, and they're basically his planet, or he resides in what he refers to as the Hopi star system. And he says from
the Adobe planetary system.
So he says, this is from the book, I am Crow Chief of all nations, all people, and all native tongues. I am above all chiefs. I reside in many places, and I reside on the Blue Star Council of 12. We have a planetary system of my people. The planet on which I reside is a starling planet of the Adobe planetary system. Our system is designated after our ancestors, who are the first, the Hopi. Thus, I reside in the Hopi star system on the starling planet of the Adobe planetary system. And he says he's very old. He's as old as our sun. he doesn't remember his beginning. He just remembers his evolution of who he is, chief over all. And I can talk more about it, but they had an interesting history where their planet was not discovered yet, and they were surrounded by what they referred to as the Dark Angels.
Yeah.
And the Dark Angels surrounded their planet with different entities and ships, and they met with them, and they wanted them to join. They wanted Crow Chief and the Hopi people on the planets to join them.
Yep.
And the Hopi told the evil angels, they call them, or dark angels, that they would rather perish than join them. And then as the dark angels and their fleets were basically entering the atmosphere to attack them, right in the nick of time, the Palladians showed up and basically started to battle, and they joined them in the battle, and they were able to push them back. And that was when he said the skies were cleared out, and a large golden ship came out of the sky and landed, where two people came out that were human, met with them, and took them back to the Blue Star, where they met other species. And that day forward, they joined the Blue Star, and eventually he became part of the Council of 12. And his species is his species is known as the hardiest of all human species. And their design and their purpose is to start planets. So basically, when planets begin, they put their people on the planets to cultivate, to grow, to make the planets grow, and to make the planets thrive. So they're basically seeded all over different star systems and galaxies, and they're some of the first that go down on certain planets.
And also, I think everybody knows this, that there's a lot more Earth-like planets out there in other systems and possibly in ours. I call them the Eden planets. So they go and cultivate those.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Oh, whoops. Wrong way. Hold on. Okay.
Okay. This next one, we included the Arcturians and the Blue Avian Masters. So just if you guys are ever curious about what you think Arcturians look like, obviously there's no color in the picture, but you can kind of get an idea. The person on the left is Leader Sophia. She is the leader of the Arcturians, and that is her mate, which is standing beside her at a table, and that is her signature that Robin drew. And then in the top right corner is another, like a side profile of another Arcturian female that Robin drew, so you can get an idea of what the head structure looks like, which people have talked about how they have elongated heads, some of them. And then down in the bottom right corner is the Blue Avian Masters. And there are also other avian species that Robin drew and she channeled, that are in the book. So you'll have to see if you get the book. But for this sake, we included them because they're familiar to people. Avians were here during Egypt. They were all here in the beginning, and they were actually one of the first. They were the first created by God, who they all refer to as El. I guess God has many names to everybody here, but according to what we know from when Robin channeled the book, they all refer to God as El. El.
Yep.
So in the books, they're gonna it said that God is a name that man gave him, and that it's a name that's tainted when people kind of stub their toe. And El is his sanctified name, and that's the name that everyone refers to him as outside of our planet. And there's a couple of things, I guess, if Robin wants to look through the book, I wrote down some stuff that's kind of interesting. So the Arcturians are blue. The reason why they're blue is because of because of the star system where they reside, which is really cold, and it doesn't have sunlight. The star system where they reside is lit by planets, they said. And they have no melanin in their skin, thus their skin is blue, and it's thick because it has to be thick for them to live comfortably in the system where they're at, which is very cold. What else to say? They said they were the first created by El. The Arcturians and the Andromedans are a mix but separate. And Sophia, she talks and she says, "We are the organizers and masters of all universes. We are the designers through L, assistant creators of worlds, not mankind, but worlds. Many of the planets we have created are savior planets, where the inhabitants are those who have been rescued from slave planets. As you will come to understand in these books, many segments of sovereign starships find and conquer slave planets to rescue the inhabitants. Once the inhabitants are rescued, the starships will bring them to our savior planets where they can live in harmony, heal, and repair. Once repaired, they are given choice to return to their people and worlds or to stay. Most choose to stay. They
Yes.
said they're interdimensional beings who could be anywhere and everywhere instantly. They need this capability because of their duty in organizing other systems, star systems, nebulas, and planetary systems. If you want to add
And
anything, Robin?
go ahead. And the Blue Avian Masters, which is the guy with the beak. This was a really hard. His name's Drippin, or Drypin. It was really hard to draw this because I had to draw something that was kind of humanish, but not, but bird-like. And so he is one of the masters of his race. And the Arcturian and Avian races are two of the oldest races created. You didn't read this, did you, Michael?
No, you can go ahead. It's kind of,
Okay,
that's why I
okay,
put them.
okay. By the one highest of high, L, we began everything. We were the helpmates to the ideas, promises, and creations of vast and wide universes. We have created billions of universes throughout eons and eons of time due to the evolution factor of godhood. You may think that God is just one, but there is an evolution of gods. I use the term gods as plural because there are more than one God. Now, let me explain that. What I saw, there is a higher being that is one, and then I'll facilitate out of that one. It's kind of like the Trinity, when you're in the biblical times, that you have God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost are all one, work together, but have different components and different meanings to each one. And so that's kind of what he is talking about also. He says the commanders of the Blue Star are heavily engaged in battle against evil. The Blue Star's mission is to work for sovereignty and to correct all ill ways in the system or any systems that have been infiltrated by evil or dark souls. The dark souls are here just to prick a man's finger, but that one little prick in your finger can fester and fester, then become infected and move into the whole body. So basically what they're saying is they come in. It's kind of like what I feel we're seeing kind of now. You have a snake in the midst, and you have to sometimes, if it's evil, you have to cut off the head of the snake to eradicate it. And so that's kind of what they're saying. In this book too, we talk a lot of the higher source, but also we talk about battles. We talk about each species has very few species in this book don't battle. They have to survive. And it's interesting that we upon this earth, we have good and evil. Up in the systems high above us, we have good and evil. And there's battles constantly. And do you want to say anything about that, Michael?
Yeah, so what you'll, he, yeah, I think he was the first one to mention it, but it's mentioned throughout the book by different species. So he basically says that even though they're highly evolved species, that his species has been almost cut in half, that many were
Yeah,
captured and involuntarily turned to the dark side. The way you can tell the difference is by the eyes. Those with black eyes have gone to the dark side. We want you to be aware that the dark side has a liquid, a black substance, and almost every entity that follows it must either be injected with it or drink it. Once the black substance is absorbed into your body, it takes control of you and you will lose your freedom of choice and your way. when you take in the black substance, it changes your DNA and you will come under the full power of the dark controllers. So I think in different communities of super soldiers and whatnot, they discuss this black
The black
goo or
goo.
black substance, and that's something that's discussed in this book too. So I don't know.
Yep.
I have seen some pictures on the online of people drawing a blue avian with black eyes, and that kind of made me think of that. Maybe that they basically that the evil will go and capture all different
Yes.
species because they don't create on their own, and then they'll go
Yeah.
and turn them basically to their side to get their intelligence, their blood, their talents, and whatnot. So it's kind of like a
Yeah.
game of cat and mouse, I guess you would say. So
Yeah. Yeah. They capture them, and that's where slave trade planets too also come in. Okay.
okay, so this next slide, we won't touch too much on it because it might
Yeah.
take a lot of time, but these are
Yeah.
just important figures that we just wanted you to see. So the top left is the commander of the Palladians, Zephyr. He's someone that's prominent in Robin's life and who I'm pretty familiar with myself. The top right person is Hatan. He is someone that I guess the extraterrestrial community should be aware of. There was different channelings in the 80s where he actually came through and someone channeled him. And there's
And
also the Phoenix Journals, which he's pretty prominent in.
And we just want you to know too, they found a skull that almost is identical to the shape of this being's head. That it has that wide apparatus on the side, and then it kind of dips. And they just found that it was in Peru. They just uncovered this skull.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And in the book, he
Yeah.
talks about how that he was in the councils of heaven when they created Earth, and that they were present, and that there was many wars that were fought there, and that his species partook in those wars. And I think when you channel them, that you saw that different scenes where they're basically they stay in the ships, but they're fierce and they're very intelligent warriors, and they
Highly
command large
intelligent.
fleets. Right. So
Mhm.
that's and he posed like that because he said that Robin thinks he looks like a heart. So that's why he posed like that. That's a
Yeah.
signature. That's for signature. That the lower left corner. That's Robin channeled the Melchizedek, and that's who came forward, and his name was Noble. And
Noble.
basically, they reside on the Melchizedek's planet, and that's in the system of El, right next to the Elohim planet. And it's an all male planet, and they look kind of like monks. He said
Yep.
they kind of dress and appear like monks, and that their landscape would be similar to that of ancient Greece with the temples and whatnot. And basically
Mhm.
they know everything about what's going on throughout the universe and the system, and they actually assisted the Palladians when the Palladians were actually attacked at one point. I
Yeah.
think that's in another book.
Yeah.
So they know what's going on everywhere and
Judge Whistler.
everything.
Yeah.
And they're heavily involved in the creation of species, organic species that come down for protection. We'll
Yeah.
show you one of them, one of the Taurus species, which will show you I think they created them. And then in the lower right corner are the Supreme Sentinel race, and that is the Zephyr and the Supreme Sentinel race. They're on the Council of 12 for the Blue Star. The Supreme Sentinels, they are the Watchers. Robin
Hmm.
can kind of explain who they look like, but they're a highly advanced race, and they also provide species and high technology to the Blue Star and the Federation, and they do have a strong military capacity.
And what I saw when I drew them is that they're a couple, and they have very odd bodies. You can see the proportion of the body is just really odd. But the men, excuse me, the men have elongated skulls, but the women do not. Um, and it seems like the women in some of these are the leaders, and the men are stand by their side. And this is kind of, you can tell he's more military, and she is on the Council of the 12. And I try to draw as much ornateness as I saw um, on them. Some of the species, like the Jafakian race, they just didn't have much except I don't think you put the second Jafakian on here that he had a uniform on. And Zephyr has a uniform. The Melchizedek were really Hebrew looking to me. They're really a monk. And also I do feel I've channeled them a lot in my other channelings and on my Patreon. Excuse me. And they I do feel that they can walk upon the earth. They can come down and they can walk upon the earth. I want to just share one thing that I just saw on the news, YouTube news, is that a bomb made it through, and it was aimed at Jerusalem, and they have a freeway. There's a city here, and then they have this freeway, and everybody was on the freeway, and the bomb flew over the freeway and landed on the side of the freeway in a mountain, and it exploded, but it made no damage. They're calling it a miracle that this bomb should have taken out the whole freeway. And they say this bomb was so powerful that it could have taken out 500 people, and that it was a miracle that this bomb either was defective or something, but it just made a little dent in there, and you could just see some of the rubble of the bomb, and it must have exploded up. They don't even know. They called it a miracle. So I just want you to know that there are still miracles happening in some of the hardest times that we see. So people's prayers are being answered also. So anything else, Michael?
Nope.
Okay. Now this one's going to be, this is going to kind of blow your mind on these ones here. I'll talk about the Glock and I'll let you talk about the rest. So the Glock is a square head one. And the reason I want to talk about him is because you will see on my channel here that I did just a short excerpt of that. I was woken up at night and I had a gray alien sitting on my dresser, and I had a picture frame, and this alien was showing me picture after picture after picture after picture of all different species. And I do believe that this is where this book is coming from. It was probably downloading me. The most prevalent species that I saw that I did not forget was this square head, because it was so crazy. But as I channeled this Glock, I can't remember if I have a name for him.
No, he didn't have a name.
Okay, I can't remember. Anyway, I saw his uniform, and so his head is square. He is made. He's not a human. He has no soul. He's like a walking computer. They said every starship has a Glock, and it knows everything. It can download everything. It has everything. And so the head is square, and that face appears on the front, the side, and the back. So it can be walking with you, and you're talking to it, and you can talk to the side of its head because its face, there's a face on all sides of it, and it can give you information. So someone can be standing in the front getting information from the Glock. Someone can be standing from the back getting a different information from the Glock. So that, I thought it's almost like, I guess, a hologram, but it's a mega computer that walks. So that's what I want to talk about, because I will never forget seeing that. And I think I got him pretty close to what I saw.
Yes. Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, they're basically present, like Robin said, on all the ships, or on all the master ships, and then so they'll attend all the meetings, and then they'll record everything. Mm-hmm. So if anybody that missed the meeting, needs to hear any information, they could replay it back. And they also scan, and they're present during battles, so they scan the battle so they can replay the events at times. And they also can scan planets, and they can scan below the grounds, and they could do all different kinds of or they have all different kinds of capabilities. And I think they were created by the Sentinels, which were on the previous slide. The military, the military, and then the woman. They were created by them for the purpose of being on ships for data and expertise. The top right corner, that's the top right species, they're called the VAF, and I think it's called
Shavosh.
JVAFE or something of that nature.
Yes.
And they were they were discovered on their planet by the Lemurians, they said. And when the Lemurians arrived outside of their atmosphere, they sensed the Lemurians' presence, and they sensed that the Lemurians were good. And because they sensed they were good, they engaged with them, and they formed a relationship. And now they work for the Council of 12 when they're called upon by primarily the Lemurians. And their main talent is battle and
Mm-hmm.
war. And I think they're about 12 feet tall. They're black. Their planet's dark and cold, and they create a certain type of energy that they create in their body, and it propels out of their hands like kind of like a weaponry, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of a extreme voltage where basically they'll drop them down into a planetary system during battle, and they can survive in any kind of environment, underwater, space, cold environments, hot environments, whatever the case may be. They can adapt to any environment, and they can basically annihilate an entire army by themselves. Um, they have a high pitched voice, so they don't speak. They just use telepathy. And we had to actually do automatic writing with them because when they said their name, it was when Robin said it, it was really high pitched when it came through Robin. I remember that. So I think that the interesting thing about them is they said they don't have any excrement or they don't excrete anything out of their bodies. They basically consume a type of mineral. It's like a stalactite type mineral that they consume, and that just gives them enough for the sustenance they need. And I thought it was kind of interesting how they mentioned that in their free time they sing. So they
Yeah.
have different
Yeah.
tone.
He's
Yeah, they
saying,
have
yeah,
different. Yeah, so they have
tonal.
they have different tones that they sing and they hum, and they create a type of melody which brings them peace and joy. That's what they said. But they enjoy being in space, and they enjoy um, being in combat. And they said that when the Lemurians found them, they feel that it was meant to be, and it gave them purpose and meaning. So now they're part of the Federation, and they engage with in battles and combat. The lower left species is the Taurus. They call them the Taurus beings, and they reside in the Taurus star system. They're 12 feet tall, and their primary purpose is also battle. So they're the ones that go in first typically. Um, the Palladians, human race, Lyrans, whoever needs them will basically, there's one on each ship on the mega ship, and when they're needed, they'll basically reach out to them. They give them a code or a sequence for the black hole or the wormhole that'll get them to the star system where the planet's being overthrown or there's some kind of a battle occurring. They'll give them the coordinates, they'll program the coordinates, and they'll show up with their fleet, and then they go in first, whether it's for battle or it's for intel. They basically go in first because they consider themselves expendable because they could be recreated, and they don't have any emotions. And that's what they said. They have a planetary system, but they're meant to be in space. They're about 12 feet tall. They're blue, and they have a light, kind of like, they say our light and our soul is white. Theirs is blue. So if he were to open his chest, he said you would see a blue light
Yeah.
that's coming through his body. And he also said that they've been captured and duplicated, dissected and duplicated by the dark side. So the dark side also has them, the exact same version of them, but they're gray and they have green blood instead of blue blood.
Yeah.
And he said they're amazingly the same. So I think they're about 12 feet tall, highly strong, and fully engaged for battle. The lower right corner, that's Thenia. I forgot her name, her species name, but they're part of what they call the Galactic Resource Group, and they basically are on all the main ships. They're a smaller species, but they're humanoid, and I
Yeah.
think they're about 5'5",
Yeah. Yeah.
something of that
They're short.
nature. So they're used on all the main ships to do tasks, and during high stress when there's war and combat, they're on all the ships. So they also engage in battle, and they're highly active when a planet is overthrown. They'll go down and they'll basically help to restore the planet, clean
Yeah.
clean things out, eradicate, anything that's left over, and just do a lot of tasks. And they really respect the commanders that they work with on the different ships, like Zephyr and like the Palladians and the human race.
And another thing I want to share with you guys too is that as we were doing this channeling, that each one of these species has something that they contribute to the better good of the mission or of the system or of mankind. That they all, it's just a nature in them to serve, and they just do it. I don't think there's ever arguments, fighting. And another thing that I saw, that our human race is the only one that kills itself. We kill each other. Most of these species would never even think of harming their comrades, brothers, sisters. They are like at awe that we do that down here.
Another thing I thought, actually, I just thought of this now, was that for people to know is that none of them eat any kind of meat. They eat either vegetation or they eat I think that Taurus species said they take an injection for sustenance. They don't eat, they get an injection,
Or
and
there's
that
a type
provides
of
them
drink
sustenance.
that they do too.
And Fenia, that the girl in the lower right corner, she said they have a type of drink that is made, and it tastes kind of like what our beets. Tastes like beets,
Yep.
and that's all they consume. So most people just consume either a plant-based diet or I think one particular race, maybe it was Fenia's race, they have a manufactured, it's an insect that's manufactured for sustenance.
Yeah. That's right.
And they basically blend it up into a drink with other things, and that one drink is enough to sustain them for an extended period of time. It's a manufactured insect, but eating meat is against the law of one throughout the cosmos.
No killing. Yes.
Even though our planet was designed for that, for chicken and different animals that had a full contract to provide sustenance for us. That's not something that's acceptable out in the cosmos for the benevolent, at least.
For the benevolent, yes. We do have scientists that are coming down upon this planet that are taking deer and stuff like that. I do feel there's other lower beings that are coming down upon this planet, and they're taking, I think, a lot of our resources, and they take it back to their planet and try to replicate us. That's for another day. Okay. Then this is our commercial break. I have an Etsy shop, and so it is Robin Hyatt Etsy, and I have Robin Hyatt Body Shop on Etsy. So we have our oracle cards, and actually these oracle cards, Michael designed them. I channeled them and had ideas, but Michael amazingly made a most beautiful deck. And so these oracle cards are they're great for everybody. And then I have protection salts, I have body scrubs, and I also have clearing sprays. And so check that out. So that's our commercial break. If you have any questions, just ask me. Okay, so we're going to go to the next book. So that was book 1, The Benevolent. And then I felt I wasn't done. We forgot people. I thought we forgot people. So this book is a little bit different, where it has some drawings, but it also has some AI that we worked with to make it a little bit more personable for you to look at. And this is The Power of the Benevolent, the Blue Star Council, and Galactic Republic. So we have 35 enlightened beings in here. So we continue on. We also talk about a lot of the channeling I got was why they wanted to talk about Enoch. They wanted to talk about Cleopatra. We brought Sananda, Jesus Christ, in. We also brought a lot of historical figures in this book and gave you information through my channeling of what I saw, may be different than what's written in history. And we also, I did more also writing. I did more, like they wanted, instead of just their signatures, they wanted to write a blessing, or a protection prayer for the people. Even though we can't read it, they wanted the energy to flow out to the people that had these books. And both books have energy. So, and also in these books too, you don't have to read it like from chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can just open it up and read a chapter and receive great information. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so here, like the other one, if you guys are interested before you buy the book and you want to watch this presentation and these races and personages appeal to you, then feel free to go ahead and purchase the book if you choose. However, we're going to go through some of the particular species. We couldn't cover all of them because we're limited for time, but like Robin said, there's 35 different species. Historical species they talk about Mount Shasta.
Yes.
They talk about
super soldiers,
reptilians,
and then, also in this book, I wanted to bring out the Men in Black, so I did a channeling of the Men in Black. So,
right, and then like Robin said, Enoch. That was a really good one if you guys are interested in the story about how Enoch went up on the ship when he was a kid. That he talks about that. It shows a picture of actually Enoch in his higher state of what he actually looks like, even though he's part of Metatron. It shows who he is actually in his higher state as Enoch. Japheth, the son of Noah, he talks about the ark. Samuel, who's on a ship that's resides with Sananda's ship. Sarah, the daughter of Christ, so on and so forth. So,
okay.
All right. So the first one, Robin can talk about these. These are two of our favorite people. So this is Alan and Fejba. Alan is the commander of the human race, and he, throughout the cosmos, as you guys are probably aware, there's human races everywhere in not only our star system, but multiple star systems, galaxies, universes, etc. And Alan is the commander over that human race, and he also resides on the Blue Star Council of 12, and that's his twin Fejba. Go ahead, Robin.
And Fejba is a Valkyrie. Also, Alan, their beginning, they were born as one soul that split into two. So they're twins. They're twin souls. And through their training, they were very highly trained and skilled on every planet and every species. They were adopted by Michael, the archangel, and he took them in and trained them. Each one has different talents and abilities, and Alan went further into being a commander over the human race. He and Fejba have come down upon this planet many, many times. And their agenda was not to, I believe, to have lessons for growth. Their agenda to come down upon this planet because of their skill and is to push the benevolent, the positive agenda forward when darkness was getting too much. That they came down either to fight or to delegate or etc. on that. And they are still very much involved in the planet now and the evolvement of the planet. Anything you want to say, Michael?
Basically, the power of the benevolent and the benevolent basically revolve around both Alan and Fejba because they're of the human race, and the human race is here. And every species that was brought forth are people that they work with and that they're friends with and that they've visited their planets. So basically when they began, like Robin said, it according to them and other species that Robin channeled, when you're born on the upper realms, you don't you don't stay on a planet with your father and your mother. You basically you go to other planets and you reside with other male personages and female personages and other species to learn and grow. So
Yeah.
you go to different types of planets depending on what your path is, what you choose. So Fejba was more on the spiritual side with the communication with different species, and she is able to project herself throughout basically anywhere and everywhere. She can understand and speak any language. And then Alan was more on the technology and warring side. So he, as when they progressed, they basically split up. In the beginning, they were together, and then they split up and they went to different planets to for their different abilities, and then they got back together and they've worked together since. And from what we understand, they were there in the beginning when the Federation began, and it was something they wanted to do. They wanted to basically go out and they wanted to save other planets and they wanted to meet other
Yeah.
species and they wanted the other species to join the Federation and they wanted to create this federation for protection. So basically when I was talking earlier about the Crow Chief and how his planet was basically almost destroyed, and the Palladians intervened. And once the skies were cleared out and everything was clear, this big golden ship, they said that that looked like an infinity, landed, and two individuals came out to speak to them. And those two individuals were Alan and Fejba. And then other personages in this book that we'll talk about a few here in the next slides. Basically, they have stories about how their planets were invaded and the Blue Star and Federation basically came to their rescue and they met with personages, and those two personages were Alan and Fejba. So Alan and Fejba basically were the ambassadors for the Blue Star. When new planets were found or discovered, they would go down on the planets because Fejba could understand telepathy of any species. And then Alan, she would transmit the communication to Alan, and then they would negotiate and see what they could do for the species to help them, or to see if they would join the Federation, or if they didn't want to join the Federation, what they need for assistance.
And I was going to say something also. And Fejba is an oracle, and she's also telepathy. And so if they didn't have a language that could be spoken out loud, she could read what they were saying and translate it to Alan.
Right. And Alan was one more thing. Alan
I want to
and
say,
Fejba, yeah, the American flag, you could see that on Fejba's badge. That's
yeah,
the flag is up there. That's the thing up there, and
it's
Alan
huge.
was part of that creation of the American flag.
I
So
swear Alan came down as Betsy Ross and made that flag because
right.
he's so involved with it. And also, this is not AI. This is actually a painting. These are paintings I did. So that's not
Yeah,
AI.
so Robin Paynips. And one more thing before I drag it
Yeah.
out is what he says in his chapter, which you guys could read if you get the book, is that every different race on this or country on this planet and different race from Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Russia, United States, Canada, all the different races of people came from different star systems and were seated on this planet. So
Yes.
because everyone has different languages and they have different customs and they have different structures that were created, all the people that came to this planet that are human derived from different star systems throughout the cosmos. And
Yes.
that a lot of the animals and insects that we see today
Yeah.
are miniature versions of the benevolent species throughout the cosmos. Like the praying mantis is a miniature version of the mantis species who are physicians on all the ship. Um, and they're master physicians of creation, DNA. Like the lion is a version of the Lyrans. Um, other animals and insectoids are all just different versions from either they are a duplicate of something that was on a benevolent planet that was brought here, or they're just kind of like a duplicate of that actual species that were kind of shrunk down just when the planet was created, because everyone that was benevolent, certain species that were benevolent, all contributed to the creation of this planet when it was created under L.
Yes.
Right. Okay, go ahead. You want to
And
go ahead another one?
yeah, this is Master Mefeko. This is the, and I did a painting. I don't know if you can see it. So this is a painting. Let me see. Can you see it? You can see it. There you go. This painting is bigger than me. And this is Master Mefeko. And I want to talk about his uniform. He had me do a cream side and a gray side. So this is actually 2 uniforms put into one. He has one is the warring side, the gray side is when he's in battle. And then the cream side is his planetary of peace. And let me see. And then this is his daughter, which was very interesting to channel her. Me actually go in here one second. Do you want to talk about Master Mephisto and let me go into his daughter, Kai?
Yeah, so he's the leader of the Lyran race, so the king, but they don't call it king. They refer to him as master. So it was something that was in their bloodline. So he actually ascended recently. So his son took over, but he's been the master over the Lyrans. And in the book, if you read about it, he'll talk about the Lyran. What people are aware of it, the Lyran Wars. Actually, when their system was attacked, there was a war, and he talks about that and how they were
almost got eradicated.
Yeah, they almost got eradicated. And then people came to their assistance, Palladians and Lemurians, and that Alan and Fejba were 2 key figures that came when they were being attacked. And they'll talk about different how it occurred. But on Robin's Patreon, there's his son. She channels his son, and he describes in more detail what occurred in the different species that attacked their planet. If you guys want details on that.
And this is his daughter. Her name's Kai Laura. And let me just describe, she really has a great love for the species because she's more on the humanoid Lyran race. It says, my father is a great father. He is a great protector of any species that needs protection. He has a place in his heart for the human race. He adores the human race, particularly the ambassadors and the commanders, and he would give his life for them without hesitation. I am so proud of him and the man that he is. She calls him a man. And I say man, so you understand, even though he is not. He is fierce, yet kind, and he likes you. And you have a friend for life. Oh, if he likes you, you have a friend for life. But if he does not like you, you will feel his disdain. He can see if you are false, full of lies and deceit, or can cause harm. He will not hesitate to growl, roar, or hiss to let you know. And it's funny because he's just like, when I see these people, like when I astral project into their lives, into their planet, you just want to pet them. They're just lovely people. She's more humanoid, but I did see his anger once in a channeling, and you do not want to make the Lyran race mad because you will lose. It is so fierce and they are so big, and the power that can come out of them when they need to fight is quite ominous. Okay, next one, Michael.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I included this one because Robin wanted to show the writing, the species who wrote. I thought she drew this species. This was one of her best drawings that she did. And then also I liked his language, the way he wrote it. And this is a blessing that he wrote. We don't really know what it means, but he wrote it and just said just to look at it, and it's a blessing. So I thought the script, the different type of writing that he did was very interesting, at least in my mind. His name's Eel, Eeil, and he's the leader of the Kifak species, Kifac.
And and he's a master teacher. let's see. I didn't go too much into him because his chapter is a little bit long, but that is a blessing and a protection to you. They said that these writings that are in this book, like you said, you don't need to know what it says, but you can feel the energy coming to you and their love for humankind, and that they are so intelligent that I think it's really sad that we have lost our capability of really understanding high intelligence and appreciating it instead of being scared of it, because these are master teachers. These are species that can go beyond and teach us beyond anything we could ever think about. Well, do you have anything else? He talks about the God code. He talks about the sun and the moon. He talks about Mother Gaia. So I just don't want to go too much into this because we're getting a little bit more on time.
Nope,
but
yeah, we're good to go.
He was really fun to draw, and even though he looks, a lot of these species look so different that they may scare you, but if you get into their presence, you will have a peace, and you will come to know them as great friends, and you will feel the love that they have for every individual human. Okay.
We could touch on these real quick.
Yeah.
We're kind of running low on time, but there are just two species that you'll read about in the book if you get it, and they basically tell their story about their planetary systems and how they were attacked and they were taken. So both of them had experiences, and they were both taken at it. Or the one on the left is a cyclops, but that's not the name of their species. It's the
different
kind.
types.
Cein, and her name is Amosia, and she was a teacher, like a elementary teacher, when her planet was attacked and they were taken. They took all the women because they have a type of blood, a green blood that is desirable when they recreate other species, and then also for actually to sell in the sex trade. So she was taken to a planet where eventually it was overthrown and she was rescued, and she talks about that. And then the person on the right is an aquatic species, and they actually had a planet. And I thought it was interesting, the planet that she talked about, how her planet was. It was basically there's no land whatsoever.
Just
All
a water
it is,
planet.
yep, it's full water and sand. So she said if you were to look at it from outside looking in, it would be like a crystal glass ball with just beautiful turquoise water and sand. So basically, they were attacked by a species that took them to convert them, to put them in planets where there was water to work for them, to mine and to get intel and whatnot. And they were basically taken aboard a ship, and they were injected with the black substance. And because they didn't have any veins, the black substance basically just killed them. So once the species realized that they couldn't be converted, they just basically up and left. But they had killed off a lot of them from when they took them out of the water and onto their ships. These next two are pretty familiar to you guys if you follow extraterrestrials and you're into that. The left is Ashtar Command. That's Commander Aheov, Aheov. And on the right is the Tall Whites, and that's the leader. His name is Loy Rutag.
Yep.
Loy Rutag, and there's their signatures or their insignia or signatures right below. Ashtar, they talk about their presence on the planet since the very beginning. What you'll find out through Enoch's channeling is that Enoch was taken. A saucer landed and took Enoch up, and that saucer, two men came out, and they were tall. They had white skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, and he found out later that they were the Ashtar race. So that they were the ones who took Enoch, or came to get Enoch and brought him up to the ship where he learned knowledge and wrote the book that he had when he returned. And then on the right is the Tall Whites, which are basically, they have a presence here. They're underground, and they're a high military and they basically control what goes on in the world as far as the governments and militaries overstepping their boundaries for the God code. So the militaries can do certain things to a certain extent, but after the atomic bomb that occurred, there's been sort of a stronghold on what they can do for free choice and free agency.
Yeah.
So they're in
Yeah.
charge of that, and they work closely with the Ashtar. And the Ashtar, they'll talk about how they were present with Christ when Christ came down. They were with Enoch. They've been here since the beginning. Both species, the tall whites and the Ashtar, are high military, high technology, and they're basically, these two are probably the main reason why we still exist today, and we haven't
That's
destroyed
true.
ourselves.
That's true. And the Loyaltog, they also were one of the first species created by the God code, by God. And they also went and mingled with the Pleiadian race. Pleiadians had a planet called Newell, and the Loyaltog went to the Pleiadians, and they did mingle their race together to make a stronger race. Okay, and let's see. Oh, this is my favorite. This is Akhenaten. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, this is basically our last slide. So Akhenaten is someone that you guys know in history. That's actually in history in Egypt. That really wasn't his name. His name was, I forgot what his original name was, but then eventually he changed his name to Akhenaten because
Keep going. It won't show.
Oh yeah, Robin. This is what you see here is a painting. Robin basically painted his portrait, so that's how Akhenaten looks. But he's about 19 feet tall.
Yeah, he's a giant
up there. Yeah, I think he's about 19 feet tall. Anyways, yeah, he knew who he was when he was in Egypt. Obviously, he wasn't that tall. He was in human form, but his Nefertiti was his oracle, and basically gave him channel messages about their lives before they came down and who he was. And then he's second in command actually on the Blue Star. And they have a strong military presence, and he has his own species, the Akhenaten species. They're highly involved in warring, and they're ancient, and they have high technology, and they are fierce in battle, and they've battled on this planet and other planets. They are tall, so they have a hard time going on ships. So they kind of reside on their own ships. But I do believe he could fit on the Blue Star because it was designed for him to fit, but he has to kind of bend down at times to go into certain rooms. And then to the right of him is Denel, is his son, and he's a mix of Pleiadian and Akhenaten. So Akhenaten had met as many wives, but he had met a Pleiadian that he was fond of. They got together, they crossbred DNA, and
which is rare.
Which is rare.
Which is rare for Pleiadian.
Denel's his son, and Denel is the liaison on the Blue Star, which is the main ship, so one of the main ships for the Federation that goes throughout all the star systems. When there's all the different leaders of all the species that come aboard the Blue Star, Denel greets them, and Denel basically controls it. It basically knows everything that's going on throughout the different systems, all the species, knows all the languages. He's a scholar, intelligent with religion, you name it. And he's best friends with Lon, who is the human commander that you saw that Robin painted a picture of.
Yes. Just want you to know too, the commander, Alon, has a huge sense of humor. And humor, when you use humor to someone that's highly intelligent, that has no emotion, and they just deal on intelligence, it throws them. And so he can actually bypass a lot by using human humor to intelligence to discombobulate their thoughts. That's what he does. It's amazing to watch that. So, anything else, Michael?
That's it.
That's it. You guys, thank you for watching. I know this got a little bit long, but these books have so much information in it. And as I say, you could just open it up and read a chapter, and it will fill you up. And I want you to really ponder and think and absorb these messages that they give you into your life. And I think that's what the most important thing is. It's all positive. It gives you information, and then it will begin your journey of discovery and wonderment of all the other species that are out there outside of just our planet or even in our planet. And I want you to know that there is, just because, let me show you that the picture on the book cover is, there is portals. And I know our military has portals underground that they have found or shipped here. I know we have a portal here, maybe more in the United States, that some of these species can come through and divulge information. I think Akhenaten has come through portals. And so just keep your mind open to all possibilities. There's so much out there that we want to know, that we don't know. And just keep your mind open. Thank you guys for being here. I want to thank Michael. You did an amazing job, Michael. Thank you so much. I just want to do a little bit of announcements before we close here. Is on the 22nd of March, we have another great guest coming on. It is Barb Shoup, and she has written a book. She is a Sasquatcher, and I've been following her for 15 years. And so she wrote a book, and we're going to talk about it. And she has a channel, and she's the only one that took a video of a cloaked Sasquatch. I also have another amazing guest coming on the 29th of March. So pencil all these in. It's going to be amazing. Is Preston Dennett. How amazing is this man? He is so intelligent and done so much work that he has like over 33 books out. So I honed into one book. This is my favorite book of his. I have 3 of his books. And this one is almost as big as my first book. And we're going to talk about the healing powers of UFO. So I wanted to keep it positive. So we have 2 more guests coming on this month, and it's just going to be amazing. Michael is amazing, and I tell him all the time that I am so appreciative to have him in my life. And I every time I think about it, I think, how blessed am I? This part of my life, I have so many blessings, and he's a huge blessing in my life. And I can't imagine life without him and his brotherhood. And hopefully I give him sisterhood in his life. And he has really made a lot of my dreams come true. And I really appreciate all the time and effort and everything he has given me. Anything you want to say, Michael?
It's hard to top that one, but yeah, I really, I'm here to support Robin. So we've sold a few books, not too many, but a decent amount. So if you guys are interested and you do purchase them, make sure you leave a good review. Like Robin said, we got
I got
a
trolled.
couple of people that were trolled, and
Yeah.
they didn't really leave a bad one on the Benevolent, but on the Power of Benevolent and the other ones, which was really sad. And we complained about it, but we couldn't really do anything. So
Yeah, Amazon's
the more
not doing
positive reviews, the better. And we hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. We will see you in a couple weeks. So peace out. If you have any questions, holler at robinhyatt@yahoo.com, and have a good week, and all's good. And I know we have a lot of hard things we're watching, but let's just we have to keep our energy high, because that's what's going to be successful in this world, is our light. And so we have to keep our light bright. And so, and I'm reading all your comments. Thank you, Ministry. I read all your comments, and I agree. So thank you for those comments. And thank you, Carolyn, for your comment too. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.